How's it guys, Munash here, and today we have rank 3 Falcon against Abyss of Legends thing. Now this is a fight where Falcon isn't exactly the best counter for, but he's still a pretty good alternative if you don't have a slow champ or an Aegon. He might not be able to solo the fight, but as a rank 3 6-star 660 with no boosts, synergies or suicides, he can do it in one revive fairly comfortably. So I go in and parry and then dash back to lock on. Now I can start hitting him with some good crit damage, while ignoring his rock armor and his protection. Then I was wondering how I want to approach this fight in terms of playstyle, because I thought parry heavy might be the best way to maximize damage per hit, since his heavy has 2 hits and can do some pretty good damage on that last hit. But it does make the fight a lot slower, and if it doesn't crit then it doesn't do that much damage anyway. And my Falcon is only 660, so he doesn't have the highest crit rate. I think it's just a plus 1000. So what's cool about using Falcon in Abyss is that all the defenders have an evade mechanic, which means that you're gonna gain a passive cruelty pretty much whenever you hit them while they're not stunned. So they do build up relatively quickly and they go up to 100. And at that stage you're gonna have some pretty nice crit damage, like 15k mediums and 10k light attacks. And then roundabout now I got a screen recording notification which kind of threw me off because I recorded that fight a long time ago but it only saved now, so I just stood there like a dummy and got hit by the last part of the special one. But fortunately didn't take that much damage, still well in this fight, so I'm just gonna carry on. And you notice that I'm also being a lot more passive when Red Wing is cooling down, because your damage output won't be as high without the lock on, so I'm just gonna wait for that to come back, then I'll start dropping full combos again. I also try to scan when I have opportunities where I don't take that much block damage usually, so I try to do it when he's maybe throwing a special attack, like in the middle of that, or I'll parry just before I do it, or maybe dash back twice and let him dash back as well, and then I'll lock on because I have a lot more space. I could just do it as soon as I can and then take a bit more block damage, but I'm just trying to play it a little bit more clean and try to avoid taking damage if I can. Also, it's just good practice for those scenarios where the opponent might be unblockable, or just has some way of punishing you on contact, like Immortal Abomination or nodes like Energy Adoption. But locking on only takes 1.2 seconds, so it's really not that bad, and it lasts for 14 seconds, but the Sig ability gives you an extra 2 seconds, and if you have class advantage, you get an extra 40% duration. So in this fight it will last for about 22.5 seconds. Then at first I also wasn't sure which special attack to use, because in Abyss the special 3 counts as 1 hit, so it's usually pretty good for maximizing your damage per hit. Although Falcon's special 3 does not do much for his damage compared to the special 2. It does apply an incinerate debuff, but it's not very strong. I think it only does about 5000 damage in total. And then it also applies a vulnerability debuff, which increases your crit damage by 25%. However, I didn't see much of a difference when I had the vulnerability on him. At first it was difficult to compare because of the cruelty stacks, but then when I had 100, which is where it caps, there was still very little difference between my crits with the vulnerability and without. So I'm not sure what's up with that. Might have something to do with diminishing returns, maybe the cruelty stacks are diminishing the value of the vulnerability. But yeah, special 3 did not seem to help much in this fight, so I mostly used special 2. Because at least that's guaranteed to do about 30,000 damage when you're locked on. But now we're done with the first set of charges, the skirmish charges, so now we get warfare charges, and he gets an extra 100% ability accuracy, and this is where the fight gets a lot more interesting, and I suppose a lot more difficult, because now you can't rely on the lock on to counter things, so now every time you hit him he will gain those rock charges, and also you can't bypass protection anymore. So now you really do have to pay attention to his rock armor, make sure that you don't hit him when he's at 15, make sure you can bait a special attack when he's at 15, to remove all of them, or just make sure that he's stunned if you're gonna hit him when he's at 15. Which I do here because he was far from a special 1, and hitting his block does consume some hits, so I'd rather just parry and then drop a few hits and then back off, so at least I can still do some good damage, instead of using my hits to manage his rock armor. So after parrying you can still do 2 hits while he's unstoppable, and then just back off or parry again. Also at this point in the fight it becomes better to use the special 3, because the special 2 will pretty much always trigger protection when you're locked on, whereas special 3s will only trigger his protection after the animation. but Falcon's special 3 only does about 11,000 damage, so it won't even trigger protection. But I do still hit his block sometimes, like when he has above 1 bar of power, and when I can get him to 15 in one combo, but must be less than a 5-hit combo. So now with all those cruelty stacks, when you're not locked on, you still do a decent amount of damage, although you still want to be doing ideally all your damage or the vast majority of it when you're locked on. But obviously you can't only hit him when you're locked on, otherwise you're going to lose some hits with the warfare charges. So you'll need to decide if you want to focus more on maximizing damage or managing the fight. Because you notice I'm getting pushed back quite a bit by Thing because I am trying to maximize damage. So I do get cornered, which is no fun when fighting Thing. I'm literally in between a rock and a hard place, but at least I can parry stun him, so I can get easy openings, not like in Alliance War when he's on Stunning Reflection. But you also have access to a special 3, which is pretty useful for giving yourself some space, because it'll push him all the way back to his own corner. So let's throw that, shoot him up with Red Wing, then drop some rockets. Okay, now I have a good amount of space to play around with, so I can be a bit more passive while I wait for the Red Wing to reactivate. Scan and lock on once again, then carry on dropping full combos. Alright, so we're getting close to the end of the fight, just over 30 hits left, and it has gone pretty well so far, but you are going to see me make a mistake here where I just completely ignored his rock armor. I kind of forgot it was there and just carried on hitting him when he was at 15, so he goes unstoppable and then punishes me with the heavy attack, which is quite annoying, but fortunately I'm still in this fight, and it's almost over. Just need to drop a few more combos, so I can lock in one more time, and throw one more special 3. So yeah, like I said earlier, Falcon might not be the best for this fight. There are a few who can solo it, but he's still pretty solid. I think getting it done in one revive is really good, because this was also a pretty practical showcase. I had no boosts, no suicides, no synergies. You know, it's actually a team that you could use to clear the abyss. I'm just not sure how he would do against the Collector. Obviously not as good as Aegon, but he might be a decent alternative like Corvus. So this is where I go down after using up all my hits, 48% left, which was a bit more comfortable to do in the next fight, especially because I have level 1 assassin. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found it interesting. Thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.